right, so let's begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this seminar. My name is Afonso Solac. I'm civil engineer. I work for the software development department of CYPE. Okay, so today, 16th of June, we are concluding this cycle of 26 seminars, talking a little bit about an overview about the CYPE product. Okay, so we started this seminars in 24th of February, and today, 16th of June, we are concluding this cycle. Okay, so during this past months, we have been talking about structural calculation, MEP, thermal analysis, architectural modeling, and today we will conclude this seminar with one workflow, a typical case that we can have working with two different softwares. In this case, using our CYPE architecture to develop the architectural model of our building, and then calculating the reinforced concrete structure with CYPECAD using the information that was created before with CYPE architecture. Okay, so during the seminars, we have been talking about 15 different open BIM tools. Okay, both of them, CYPECAD and CYPE architecture, we have been looking before in the previous seminars, but this specific workflow, it's the first time that we will show you. And I think it's a very useful workflow, very useful case that you can have. So let's do that today. Okay. If you don't have the opportunity to watch one of the seminars that we have been doing before, here we have the program. You can navigate changing the months here. Okay, so from February to March, you can find the other webinars that we have been presenting, and in most of them you can watch these webinars just using this button here, the Watch Now button that you can find in each webinar. Okay, so here in most of them you already have this information, or you can find you can search for these webinars in the blog of BIMserver.center. Just type in blog.BIMserver.center and going to the webinars section. Okay, so today is 16th of June. We'll be doing this one here, tips and good practices for CYPE Architecture-CYPECAD interoperability. Okay, so we'll send information from CYPE architecture to then develop a structural model in CYPECAD. That's our plan for today, right? So yeah, let me show you some ideas that I have here to share with you. So here I have some models. These models, they are in a, how can I say, in an advanced state. It's in an advanced moment of the project. We had the architecture model, then we calculated the structure, and now we already have the structure synchronized with the architectural model again. So there was a feedback from the calculation software to the 3D modeler in this case. So our workflow permits that. Here it's a steel structure. So with CYPECAD you can calculate both reinforced concrete and steel structures, not just reinforced concrete. So this was an example using steel structures. And here there is another example. In this one, it's a reinforced concrete that was also modeled here in CYPE architecture, sent to CYPECAD, calculated, and we can receive the structural model back again to CYPE architecture. Okay, actually here using the 3D views, the section to generate views at CYPE architecture, we can combine these IFC files that are in our project in the cloud to represent a combination of them. Okay, so for example, in this one, I created one that was the structural model in 3D, and I selected just the structure that was calculated with CYPECAD. And if we deactivate some of the layers that we have here at CYPE architecture, we can see this model that was created at CYPECAD in this case. Okay, so from CYPE architecture, we introduced part of the geometry using the slabs, columns, the walls here in the architectural tab of CYPE architecture. Send this information to BIMserver.center. From BIMserver.center, we download the information and imported at CYPECAD, introduced more information that is related to the structural calculation. we run the analysis, and then we got this 3D model of the structure, and then send back here to CYPE architecture. Okay, the same situation here, just showing to you in the steel structure case, we have the same situation here. We have part of the information is the architectural model, so the trees, the furniture, the curtain walls, all the information that is related to the architectural model. We can deactivate this information for a moment, and we can see the steel structure in this case that was calculated also with CYPECAD. Okay, so this is the idea. As you can imagine, we can have much more than 2 IFCs. In this case, I've shown you two IFCs, architectural model and structural model, but you can have also the other disciplines that we have been talking during these seminars. For example, the solar system installation, or the water all the MEP installations that we can have in the project. You can do the same situation. Okay, to do that, we have to know some details about how we should introduce the information at CYPE architecture to then send this information to CYPECAD and to recognize this information inside of CYPECAD. Okay, so the first thing that we must know here at CYPE architecture when we are creating this model is that, let me just turn on here the layers. The first information that we must know is that we have 2 tabs here, so the sketch tab and the architecture tab. Okay, if we are working with CYPECAD, okay, with CYPECAD, we must use the information that is introduced using the architecture tab. Okay, so here if we introduce information with the sketch tab, this information will be not used at CYPECAD. CYPECAD don't import, don't recognize the information that is created with the drawings, with the lines, with the surfaces that we can create here with the sketch tab. Okay, this information, if we can use to a structural calculation, we can send it to CYPE 3D, for example, another software. Okay, and then we can transform lines and surfaces in structural elements in CYPE 3D. But if we are working with CYPECAD in a different type of building, we can use the information that is here on the architecture tab. Okay, so here we have different construction elements. Here we are not talking about lines or surfaces. We are talking about columns, slabs, walls, windows. So we're not talking about lines and surfaces, but these BIM elements, or these entities or BIM entities, they can be recognized by CYPECAD, and then, for example, one column can be calculated at CYPECAD, and the slab can be used to generate the structural slab in CYPECAD, or for example, the walls can be transformed in linear loads on the structural model. Okay, so we must use the information that is here on the architectural tab. Okay, the first thing that we should add to our 3D model here in CYPE architecture before sending it to CYPECAD are the levels. Okay, so this information, it's one of the information that we must add here before sending this model to CYPECAD. Okay, so floor 1, 2, 3, defining the heights of the levels here at CYPE architecture. To create these levels, it's quite easy. You have this button here, levels. So yeah, here you can enter and just create the defining a reference and elevation to these levels. So very, very easy. And when you create a specific floor plan, one of these floor plans here, for example, creating one here, selecting the option floor, you can click in a specific elevation in a specific point of the model. I don't know, here, for example. And then you can here you can add one of these levels. Okay, so you can add one of these levels. If there is no level with the same elevation that you have here in the floor view, if you didn't create the level before, the software will ask you if you wanna create this new level. For example, in this case, you have not selected the level that is associated with this floor view. Do you want to associate it with this specific elevation? So you can also use the views here to create levels. Okay, so you have both situations. You can open the window, the panel to define the levels manually, views in specific elevations. Okay, you have both options here. Another thing that is very important here is that be associated to a specific level. So for example, if we look here, for example, to an elevation view like this one, when we define, for example, this wall here, you can see in the information related to this wall that there is a reference, wall 69, and the second information, a specific level, level 6, okay? If we go to the next wall here, you see that it's level 5. So in this one, level 4, okay? This information should be included in your walls, for example, or in your slabs, your columns, before sending to CYPECAD. CYPECAD needs to know where the different construction elements are located, or in which level these elements are located, okay? To do that, you have different options, okay? For example, the first one, the easiest one, is when you create a wall, for example, or create a column, you can click on the checkbox level and open the list of levels that you created before on the menu levels. So here, for example, just clicking here and selecting level 6, for example. There's another option that is, for example, you can copy information from one specific element that you know that it's already in a specific level. Let's suppose, I don't know, this wall here, using this button here, copy properties, you can come here, okay? And for example, selecting just the level 6, you can select this, you want to copy this information, level 6, and apply to this other element, or even to different elements. You can select multiple options here and apply this information, in this case the level 6, okay? So yeah, we are adding the level 6 information to different walls. And there is a third way, that is using this button here. You can assign levels, okay? So you can use this button here, select part of your model, I don't know, this information, for example, and I would like to say the level that where this information that was selected is located is the level 6 or the level 8, the level 4, okay? So you have these options here, okay? When you are modeling, there are some tips to easily define this information too. For example, if you created, let me delete this one here that is duplicated, that I've just created before. But when you are working with floor plans, for example, here the floor 6. The floor 6, if we edit this information, we can see that is connected to the level 6. Okay, all the elements that we introduce when working with the floor 6 view, okay, will be automatically introduced with the information related to the level 6. So now if we go, for example, to vertical elements like a wall, as you can see here, this information is level 6. This checkbox is already checked, and with this information selected, you don't have to think about it. It's automatic, okay? So that could be very, very useful when we are, if you are creating, for example, a complex structure with different geometry between the levels. So for each level, you can model directly from here, and all the information will be associated to this level. Okay. There is another trick that is very interesting. If we come back here to the 3D view, okay, let me do here just an example. If we create a little wall here, so yeah, if you can see here in the 3D view, the information here is the last information that we had in the last elements that we included. So yeah, here we should change to level 0, for example, if you want to add some information on the level 0. And let's introduce this wall here, for example. Let me see here. Yeah, I would like to add a little wall here, okay? Just an abstract example here. This wall, if we click on that, okay, it's in the level 0. There's an option here that is copy information from one level to another. So if it's this one here, copy from another level. So we can select from which level we want to copy information and to which level we want to send information. So we can copy information from the level 0 to the level 1, for example, and select what kind of information we would like to copy or send from one level to another. Okay, so let's suppose we are copying just the walls, for example. Accepting that, we have this level and this new information. When we use this option here, okay, automatically the level information that is it's connected with this element is changed from one level to another. What it means here, the information was level 0, okay, and here the information now is level 1. We don't have to worry about that. So here level 0 and here level 1, okay. So when we use this information, the level that is the reference for us will be changed when we copy this when we use this tool here. Okay, let me delete this walls here. All right, so about the levels is that we have to add these levels, and then all the information that is included should be associated to these levels. So we are talking about the walls, the slabs, the columns, all the elements should be linked to the specific levels of the building. Okay. Another information that is very, very interesting that we can add here are the typologies. So here we can create a library of typologies of different construction elements. For example, here on the floor slabs, we have different slabs that were created before starting the 3D model. So for example, here, the external floor slab with 25 centimeters is a specific code that I created, a description. But if we open here, we can see that there is a combination of parameters related to this slab. Okay, then we can configure this information here and then use this specific type to develop the model. Okay, when we create these descriptions, and this is the information that we will see inside of CYPECAD when we import the architectural model. Okay, so CYPECAD will present to us a list of elements that can be used to the structural calculation, and this list of elements will have these descriptions here. Okay, so it's very important to know to define a specific information here, because probably I am one of the professionals that is working on the project, for example, the architect with the 3D model, and then there will be a second professional working with CYPECAD to the structural calculation, and this information we must know what it means. Okay, so in this case, external floors, internal floors, I don't know here, different roofs. So a specific code that we created before, but we must inform our partners in this case, because this is the information that they will receive. Okay, so what kind of information we can, what kind of elements we can use at CYPECAD? What kind of elements developed or introduced at CYPE architecture can be used at CYPECAD? One of them is the floor slabs. So the entities related to the IFC slab entity, okay, the elements related with this entity can be recognized at CYPECAD. The columns, okay, so here I have a specific column, and the walls, okay, so the walls can be recognized by CYPECAD. The slabs, they will be used to define the geometry of the structural slab you'll see in a few moments. The columns, of course, we will use the dimensions, the cross section, also the position of the columns. And the walls, we can decide if we want to use these walls just, for example, as linear loads, for example, adding some more information related to the physical properties of these walls, or also define some parameters related to the seismic analysis. Maybe these walls can be used or can be considered in the seismic analysis. You see in a few moments. Okay. I would like just to add one more column, one more type of column. All the columns that we have here in the project are the same type. So we have a column with 50 per 25. Let's suppose we have another one that is I don't know, 30 per 30, just to have a different model here. So could be rectangular or circular. Here we will define the dimensions and also the color. So yeah, here creates a second type of column. And let's set this column in our model just to have this example. Okay. So here in vertical elements, column, okay, column, and let's select the column that we've created before, 30 per 30. Okay, let's put it here. Okay, one different column here. All right. In this model, we don't have the beams. Okay. Here we have just the slabs. The beams, they are, how can I say, embedded. They are inside of the wall. So to the architect in this case, it was not necessary to represent the beams because the beams were inside of the wall. So the architectural model don't need this information. But at CYPECAD, we can add that information because we know that it will be very necessary to our structural analysis during that process. Okay, deactivating here some information, for example, the external facade and also the internal partition, or for example here the shear walls. You can see that the slabs were introduced here. I would like to show you just the slabs here, roof, slope formation, openings. Then we'll compare the architectural model with the structural model. The roofs, railings, spaces, lift, stairs. Let's deactivate some of them. Furniture, yeah. Here we have the architectural slabs. Okay, so different types of architectural slabs, and this information will be recognized by CYPECAD in a few moments. Okay, so the first thing that we should do, export this information to BIMserver.center. So I will export it. Okay, so here I have a model, architectural model, CYPE architecture. Okay, I will add here, I don't know, my name, for example, just because I have another IFCs in the same project. So I know this is gonna be the architectural model developed by me. Okay, so let's export that to BIMserver.center. If we're working without internet, there is no problem. We can work locally with that too. Okay, this button here works to send information to the cloud and also to other software that are in our own computer. So you can use the same button to both workflows. If you are working alone or if you're working in a specific team, you can use this button here. So in this case, CYPE architecture is generating the IFC file of this architectural model, adding the different elements to the project. Okay. Let me see here. I think it's finishing. Yeah, probably it's finished. Let's see. No, it's generating the walls, furniture. Okay. Remember, this information can be used not just by the structural to calculate the structural model. You can use that to generate the thermal analysis or the MEP facilities or also the view of quantities. So this model that was created here at CYPE architecture can be used to different disciplines of the project. In this case, we are talking about structural calculation, but you can use that for different parts of the project. From this moment that we already have our CYPE architecture model, we can connect with different people because we can start working in parallel with different professionals. For example, while I'm developing the structural model, someone can be developing the I don't know, electrical facilities or the HVAC system. So in parallel, we can work different professionals in the same project. Okay, so it was exported. And if we go to CYPECAD, so let's open CYPECAD here. We can now connect to this project. I'm already logged in with my account here. It's the same account that I have of course, in CYPE architecture in this case, but could be a second person. Okay, it could be a different computer, a different place. using the cloud server could be a second person. Here I'll create a new file at CYPECAD. So today is 16th of June. Okay, June, for example. And I will import the BIM model that was created before. Okay, so I will select the project. The project is called Intro Open BIM, this one here. And here I have the file that I've created before, the architectural model with my name. Okay, so I've created this file before. Let's read this information. Okay, this is maybe the most important window that we have in this workflow, because here we are transforming information from the architectural model to information to structural information. Here we are adding a new layer of informations in our project. Here we are changing from the architect that is working with the 3D model to the engineer or the civil engineer that is working with the structural model. Okay, so these 5 steps that we have here maybe are this connection, or they are the heart or the core of this workflow. Okay, the first information that we must select here is okay, in this model, in this project at BIMserver.center, we know that there is an architectural model that was created before, but as we have been talking before, there are other elements. So here, different IFCs that we can also see in this list. So wastewater installation, water system, solar thermal installations, lighting. This information could be relevant to the structural analysis. In some cases, maybe you must know where are the pipes in this project, because maybe you must add a specific reinforced or a specific space, or create a specific you must consider that in your structural calculation. Okay, so here at CYPECAD, in this window, the software is telling us to select besides the architectural model, is there any other IFC that could be interesting to you to develop your structural model? So for example, I would like to add also the water systems, because in the future I must analyze if it's okay, the position of the pipes are okay with the slabs or the beams or any other element. So here we can select the different IFCs that we would like to import. Okay, I think I have here too many softwares working, too many models open in my computer, but okay. Yeah, so we can select here different IFCs. The second part, okay, the second part is the floor plans. Okay, let's wait a little bit. The floor plans, what it means, at CYPE Architecture, we introduced the levels of the building. Okay, the levels of the building were introduced by the architect in this case. So here we have from level -1 to level 9, exactly the same levels that we have here. So here levels -1 to level 9 with these elevations here. Okay, 2630 is the highest one. If we come back here to CYPECAD, the highest one is 2630. Okay, so here the first thing that we can do is, for me, it's not necessary to introduce the level -1, for example. Let's suppose I don't need this information. Let's suppose this information was related just to the something that was specific to the architectural model, or related to the it's related with an information that is not relevant to me, in this case, to the structural analysis. So the first option that I have is to not select or to not import one of these levels. So yeah, just clicking here, you can select the levels that you want to import. The second thing that you can do here is create a difference between the elevation that was the architectural elevation, let's say that. So 2630 is the top of the surface of the top of the last slab, for example. But let's imagine there is a 5 centimeters of difference between the top surface of this slab with the finishes and the top surface of the structural slab, because the structural slab is a little bit lower than the architectural slab. So you can add this information here. Just adding, for example, here minus 0.003 meters, for example. So you can create this difference between the level considered in the architectural model and the level considered in the structural model. Okay, of course, you must contact the architect in this case to know how many centimeters is the difference between the structural model and the architectural model. What's the thickness of these elements that you have in the finish of your slab, for example. But here you can configure that. You can add this information. Okay, so also you can add different numbers here, different differences for each level. The second step is define the structural information that is related to the columns. So at CYPE architecture, we created some columns, and these columns here we didn't define it if these columns were created with reinforced concrete or if they are metallic columns. So here, when we define the typology of a specific column, we just define a description, if it's rectangular, and some dimensions. Okay, so here we can also add some tags, we can add define the color, but here we cannot define if it's a reinforced concrete, a mixed cross section, or a steel column. We cannot add that information, but we can define some references, define a specific description, to then when we start the structural calculation, add more information that is related to the structural analysis. So in this case, we are doing this in this step here. The first thing, as we saw with the floor plans, we can import or not some columns. Let's suppose part of this project is we have some columns that were introduced that will not be calculated. For example, I don't know, a specific wood wood column that was just in the landscape, use it to create one element that is not the main building. We could not import this element, just clicking on here. And in this case, as I said before, we created these names here, C50 per 25, and they were imported as automatic as reinforced concrete 50 per 25. So the software by default interprets that everything that is rectangular at CYPE architecture will be a reinforced concrete with the same section that was introduced at CYPE architecture. But of course, here we can change this information, because here we can have different interpretations or different workflows or different ways to develop the model. One of them could be, for example, here we have the architectural column, considering, for example, the finishes that we can have in this this column. Let's suppose the structural column actually is a little bit, the cross section is a little bit smaller than this section here, because here we are also considering the finishes that we have in this column. So here at CYPECAD, we can change this information. The first thing that we can do is change the dimensions, X and Y. So let's suppose if we have a finish of 2 centimeters in each side of the column here, actually our structural core would be, for example, I don't know, 46 centimeters and 21 centimeters. Okay, so yeah, we'll leave a specific thickness related to the finishes. This is one way to interpret. Again, we must talk with our architect in this case and define the best way or the best technique that will be used to develop this model. But you can change this information. Another situation, maybe we can have, I think this one is going to be a better example, 30 per 30. 30 per 30 could be a reinforced concrete with 30 centimeters per 30 centimeters, but also could represent a specific cross section of steel series. For example, here, I don't know, could be one of the specific sections that we have here in the library, or also we can edit these elements. Okay, But we can also have I don't know, a wood column, or also in this case here, that is a very good example too. It's rectangular, the aspect is rectangular, but inside actually you have the steel section, so a composite column. All this information was not defined before in the 3D model or in the architectural model because it was not relevant to the 3D model. Let's imagine that we have this situation or this situation. Actually, the representation here at CYPE Architecture to us is enough because this is the information that we must add in our architectural model. But now here during the structural analysis that we must define exactly the structural cross section. Okay, so here you can change this information. We can assign one of the structural solutions that we have at CYPECAD to that column that was created before at CYPE Architecture. So in this case, I will put one metallic and one I don't know, one metallic and one concrete. So here, for example, this one here, just to add something different. So the C50/25 was defined as reinforced concrete, and C30/30 still with this specific section here. Okay, just to change that. Here we can also define the fixity. So here we can define if for one specific column, if they are with external or without external fixity. Okay, so depending on the levels, if you want to consider calculate the foundations, we must define these parameters here. Okay, but we can also change all of course we can change this information after inside of CYPECAD again. Okay, but here you can change this information. You can also adopt the same references that were used in the BIM model, so the same names that were used in the BIM model, or you can generate a new references to these columns directly on CYPECAD. So you can use both informations depending on your preference. Okay. All right. So we saw the IFCs that we can import, the floor plans, and now the columns. And let's see now the floor slabs, for example. The floor slabs are very easy. You just have to import this information. They will be used to generate the outlines of the geometry of these slabs. And then we will use these outlines to define the type of slab that we want to introduce on the structural model. But that could be very, there's a lot of options that we can have in to our slabs, but it's normally that before we define the contour or the beams, before adding the slabs, we can use these outlines that are recognized from the beam model to define this information. Just here, actually, we just have to import this information. And the last one, the walls and partitions. So if we come back here to CYPE Architecture, and if we go to our library of walls and partitions, these names here, okay, these names here are now here, okay. So here we have different construction elements, different types of walls that will be different, we have different weights, for example, and we must know what it means. So again, the name, the reference that we define here at CYPE Architecture is very important to us, because this is the way that this is the information that will be used to identify each element. Okay, here it's the same. Let's suppose this one we will not import it to our model because it's, I know, it's just something that was used to represent some information on the 3D model. Let's suppose we have I don't know, a glass panel that was created with a wall in a specific part of the model, and that it not represents a load or don't intervene in the seismic analysis. So we could not import this wall to the analysis. Okay, so let's finish that and let's see what happens with CYPECAD. Okay, so with this configuration we can import those informations, and the software is telling us that 10 floors were created, 12 columns, 437 walls, so construction elements, you can imagine that all this information is it's linear loads that were already introduced to the software. So imagine you defining each one of these linear loads manually without the information from the BIM model. So this is for sure it's one of the best things that we can do here. We are increasing the precision of our model, and also it was much faster doing like this because the information is was just important with some clicks from the BIM model. 74 different pieces of the slabs that are distributed on these 10 floors. Okay, and if you are working with CYPE, for example, this is not the case, but let's suppose we already designed the fire protection system using CYPE design. There is one information that is very interesting, that is the fire sectoring, that is related to the spaces that we have in our architectural model, that could be important also to CYPECAD, because this fire sectoring could be how can I say, the elements that are related with each space of these sectors this information could be considered during the analysis. In some structural codes, this information is necessary. Okay, in this case, we don't have any situation like that. So let's accept. Here it's the normal configuration that we always do when we work with CYPECAD, defining the codes, the type of concrete, steels, the different loads here. Okay, if we would like to consider the wind loading, the fire resistance, this is the normal work that we can do with CYPECAD. I will just leave these parameters here. Here the limit states, also the same, and here you can see that all this information is already here. We don't have to add that information. We imported this information from the BIM model. Okay, with the precision, and we increasing so it was much faster. Okay, using just information from the BIM model. Here, of course, we should add some information, the added structural information here, and there is a question here that is very important. The materials of the construction elements have not been checked. This prevents the project from being analyzed. Do you wish to check them now? What it means? We imported the walls from the BIM model, but some information is missing yet. Which kind of information is missing? If these walls, what's the weight of these walls, and if they are part of the seismic analysis. Okay, and the software is asking us if you would like to define this information now before run the analysis. If we do not characterize this information, these walls, before run the analysis, the project will be not analyzed. The software will tell us that, hey, watch out, you should define the weight of these walls, or you should disconsider these walls from your analysis. But please tell me something. You want to include or not these walls in your analysis? Okay. If we click here on yes, we open this these properties here. Okay, and here you can see the same walls. Okay, the same walls that are here in our library of types of walls inside architecture. Now we are adding more information to these walls. Okay, so a new layer of information. So for example, here, the first one, if we open here, we can define the surface load, for example, 3 kilonewtons per square meters, for example. We can also use this button here. There is a mini library of information where we can it's a kind of assistant. We can select here if it's internal partition or external wall, the type of material, and then the type of mortar, the joists. Here we can add information, and when we accept, okay, we can load this. The mortar here, I select one mortar that was not okay, but when we accept this, here we'll have the results of this assistant here. Okay, in the case that we are analyzing, we are calculating a structure in a seismic area, we can also say that this wall, the wall EF15, intervenes in the seismic analysis, and here we can add the parameters related to the seismic analysis. The parameters that for this wall here, EF15, would be different from the IP15 or EF25C1. Okay, so here we'll have different parameters related to each one of the types or each one of the wall types that we have in the project. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of information here. Would be impossible to the architect know all these parameters when this architecture was defining the architectural model. For the architect, just knowing the size of the column, the type of the column, and also the color, it was necessary. It was much more than that would be too many information to the architect in that phase of the project. And now, when we know, now in the moment that I am a civil engineer as a specialist of structures, I know this data, so I will add this information to this column. So yeah, we don't have to add everything, all these informations in the first moment, because in the first moment it was not necessary yet. So this is the best part of the workflow proposed by CYPE, because each professional have one responsibility on the project, and in this case we can see what part of the information was included by the architect and what part of the information was included by the civil engineer to this wall. Okay. So if we change the information, we'll see that the reference here not checked was eliminated. So we should define the information to everyone, to all the walls here. Okay. If we do that, we are actually telling to the software, all right, this information was checked. We are converting the walls in linear loads. Okay. Actually, here we define a surface load, then the software will calculate it, considering the area of these walls, to generate the linear loads. Okay, and if we accept, you can see here that the model was introduced. Here we are at one of the levels, the level 0. You can see that the pink colors are the outlines of our slabs, okay, and the yellow lines are the linear loads that were generated from the walls in this case. Okay, so here you can see that the walls are with the same height and with the same surface load, so we have the same linear load. Using this button here, the construction elements, so we can edit this information. So this one, it was the IP15, okay, but we can edit the same information that we have been talking before, or change from one to another. In most of cases, this information will not change, because this information, it's the same information that was developed and introduced here on CYPE architecture. So this information to us actually will not change, but if it's necessary, we can change, because it was a mistake, or we are adding a specific variation from one of the types. Yeah, we can change here. Okay. For example, if we change the surface load to 2 here and accept, okay, now we can see that this one was not changed. It has a different type, 8.85, but this one and all the others that are in the same type now are 5.9. Okay, so that's very interesting. Okay, from this point we could start developing our slabs. Before adding a slab, we should introduce the beams, or maybe the contour of the slab. So here we have a lot of options, because as you know, the structural calculation is not always the same. We can have different type of structural elements. So I don't know what's the best way to develop this structural model. Let's suppose we are talking about beams, or in this case, this kind of dropped beams, okay, and I will add some beams in the contour of these slabs. So here are some tools that are very interesting. For example, this one here, using the snap. Okay, we can use the snap and we can select part of the model. So for example, this contour, this slab, we can just go near to the outline and define one beam. Okay, so yeah, to start, for example, then we can add another one, for example, using this option here, the simple introduction from this column to this column. Okay, and then we can use, for example, this option here, turn on the snaps, for example, here, the object snap, using, for example, here the nearest. Okay, and we can start doing this one, changing the position. Okay, yeah, here we can start developing the structural model. Okay, once we define the beams, of course, this is a process that we must think a lot and define the best position to these beams. This is just an example. Of course, it's not the best option. Then we can define the slabs. So the panel manager, we open the panel manager. We can define one of the options that we have here. We have a lot of options here. And for example, a wafer slab or a composite slab, a flat slab. I don't know the best solution for this one. Let's suppose it's a flat slab. And then select one of these panels that were created with the beams before. And with this kind of tools, we can develop the structural model. Okay. One thing that is very interesting, that is when we have the same information in different levels. Let's suppose our model it's okay. So here we have some beams, so we have the columns, we have some slabs, and also the loads. Okay, this is very important. The loads in yellow, this is very important. We can copy this information to a next level. So now we are in the level 1. Let's suppose we would like to go to the level 2. For example, in the level 2, we don't have the beams and the slabs yet, just the loads. Okay, but we can use this information here, copy from another group. And then we are in the level 2, and we would like to copy the information from the level 1, that is the same information. And if we go to the next, level 3, copy from another group. So we can start copying information. So we can focus before in one of the levels, develop everything there, and then just copy to another levels. If we go to the 3D view, okay, using here the 3D view with the beam model, we can see what was introduced until this moment. Okay, let's load the beam model here. I am inside of CYPE architecture, but I can see the architectural model that was synchronized with the software. Here on the beam model tab, you can see the architectural model and the water systems model, because we also selected the IFC created with site plumbing when we imported the beam model. So let's suppose I would like to deactivate part of the architectural model or put it on transparent. Okay, for example, like this, or deactivating the architectural model. You can see that the map is here, the map model is here, and the structural model that was introduced until this moment is also here. This is very useful, because you can now start looking for parts of here. For example, we can see that this is probably will be a problem during the execution of this project. So these pins here are colliding with these pipes here. We must I don't know, call our MEP engineer and look for a solution to this, moving the pipes, or in this case, I don't know, considering a specific reinforced and creating a hole here. I don't know, look for a structural solution for that. Okay, during the design of the structure, we can access this information related to other disciplines because they could be relevant for us. Okay. Just showing to you a little bit this project in a phase a little bit more advanced. I have it here. Okay, so here you can see the level 0 with the foundations. Then we have here all the other elements. And if we open the 3D view, we can see the 3D model here at CYPECAD. Okay, let's open. Yeah, here we have the beam model. Let's, for example, deactivate the architecture or put it on transparent. Deactivate. Here you can see the beam model in advanced state with all the elements introduced. You can change the colors here, for example, by changing to the schematic colors in these colors, or the material in this case, they are in this case concrete. Okay, so yeah, this is the model. The next step would be send this information to our colleagues, to our team, using this button here, export. And then here we can export the structural model in IFC format in this case. Here we have some things that we can configure. For example, if we would like to export the color according to the materials or just with the CYPECAD color scheme. You can also send the analytical model that was created here during the analysis, and you can also export the deformed shape of this analysis. This information could be available to other team members at BIMserver.center. So you can send this information using this panel here. All right. If we come back, of course, to CYPE architecture, after doing that, we can synchronize updating this information here, selecting the IFC from CYPECAD, and then we have the structure in the structural model inside of CYPE architecture. Okay, we have just 4 or 5 minutes to finish this presentation, but I would like to show you just some other examples. So, for example, this guy here, how was the model? No, so how was the process to develop this model? Here we have the architectural model, okay, and I've created before here some typologies. So in this case here on the columns, I created 2 types, 20 per 20, 50 per 50. Okay, some of them, they have a specific angle, because if you see this project in a floor view, some of these columns are here. They are in a specific angle, maybe 30 degrees, or they are not orthogonal to the main axis of the project. But this information was exported to BIMserver.center, and here inside of CYPECAD, this information was imported, and I defined the structural sections here. And as you can see here in the BIM model, I use it here beams and columns, metallic beams and columns, and concrete slabs. Okay, so I use it here, a mixed composite structure. So using the information that was developed before at CYPE architecture, and then this information was exported again to the platform. And just to show a last example, this one here, that is a big building. Okay, so 20, let me see. We have here 26 floors. Okay, so this building was developed here at CYPE architecture, and the levels were created here. The walls were classified here. In this case, we don't have columns. They are created with reinforced concrete walls. Okay, shear walls in this case. But here I updated this was sent to CYPECAD, calculated, and I updated the information. And if we go here to the deformed shapes, when we select this option here, when we are exporting, and we select to export to the deformed shape, here at we are creating this, we are sending this information to the project. And for example, in this case, I can also receive this information back at CYPE architecture, and you can see the deformed shapes also here at CYPE architecture or any other software. Okay, so if I go here and edit, you can see that to the structural model layer, let's say that we have sub layers, for example, the structural model itself, and then different deformed shapes related to different loads that we have in the project. So the dead load, live load, self weight, we have different here deformed shapes, and you can activate one of them. Okay, so if here we deactivate the other parts of the architectural model, you can see this information inside of CYPE architecture. Okay, so that's very interesting, because I don't know, maybe I am the owner of the project, or I'm just coordinating the project, and receive this information could be relevant to me, although I will not calculate the building, or this is not part of the architectural phase, but maybe to receive this information could be useful, because maybe we are discussing something about the project. So this is very interesting. Okay, of course, if we go to BIMserver.center, to the platform itself here, okay, if we open the projects, in this case in my account, you'll find the information inside of the project. So here in the contents, in the cloud in this case, you can see the architectural model created by me here. So here you can see some of the map map installations. And here we have the structure, okay, the same structure that was created here at CYPECAD. So we have a backup of these files here, also in the cloud, okay? So as you saw before in the first presentations that we had in this cycle, here we can create our team, invite other members from our team to work in the same project, and assign different areas and roles to each one, and then together develop a BIM model or a BIM project. All right. So that was the presentation today. It was a pleasure to be here with you, sharing a little bit about this workflow. I hope it was useful to you, and I hope you start working with CYPE in your projects. Just remembering, CYPE Architecture is free software. You don't have to pay for that. You just have to download it from the BIMserver.center store. Looking here on the store for CYPE Architecture, actually it's here as one of the new features. Just downloading the software from here, you can start working with this application. And as you see here today in the example, we can connect this software with other solutions of CYPE, in this case as with CYPECAD, and that could be very, very useful. Okay, thank you very much, and see you in next time.